Good evening and welcome, dear friends. On behalf of the Vivekananda Vedanta Society of Chicago, we are honored to welcome Ms. Audrey Kitagawa as the guest speaker of our Know and Love series event today. As a way of introduction, Audrey Kitagawa is the president and founder of the International Academy for Multicultural Cooperation. She is also the president of the Light of Awareness International Spiritual Family. She is the chair of the Anti-Racism Initiative, chair of the Gender Equality Working Group, and member of the Advisory Council of the G20 Interfaith Forum. She was also the former advisor to the Office of the Special Representative of the Secretary General for Children and Armed Conflict at the United Nations. She is a UN representative for the United Religions Initiative, a trustee for the International Center for Religion and Diplomacy, and a member of the Global Security Institute's Advisory Council. Ms. Kitagawa has contributed to many publications and has received several awards for her leadership and contributions to promoting culture, education, peace, and harmony. By profession, Ms. Kitagawa has an illustrious academic background and has been an esteemed attorney. Today, she is presenting to us insights on the topic, harnessing the wisdom of the world's religions to address today's global challenges. We look forward to her talk, and there will be time towards the end for questions and answers, to have your questions ready. And on that note, let's welcome Ms. Audrey Kitagawa.
Good afternoon, everyone. And it is wonderful to pay my very first visit to Home of Harmony and to see this beautiful building fulfilling the purpose for which it was created, a place where people come from diverse traditions to come together in harmony, friendship, and goodwill for each other. I would really like to express my deepest appreciation to Swami Ishatmananda Ji and the Vivekananda Vedanta Society of Chicago for the invitation to join you this evening as a participant in the Know and Love series lectures which have been taking place. And those who have been privileged to attend this lecture as well as to present at these lectures have been really given us the opportunity to hear many profound and important topics from various faith perspectives. And I also extend my thanks to the program coordinator and the many unseen hands and hearts who work behind the scenes to make these educational and spiritual lectures possible for the enrichment of so many people. In the spirit of both Swami Vivekananda and the Home of Harmony, I have chosen to reflect upon the important role of the world's religions and faith traditions in addressing today's global challenges. Before I begin, I would like to share a special blessing with you. Although I currently reside in New York City for much of my time, I was born and raised in Hawaii, where I also return every winter to my home there. In the indigenous Hawaiian tradition, all important events are opened with a pule, or blessing, in accordance with the spiritual tradition of the islands. This blessing is performed by Kumu Hinale Mo'ana Wong Kalu in the misty rains of the Nu'anu Pali in the Ko'olau Mountains on the island of Oahu. The blessing acknowledges the great source of life itself, which provides us with the power, knowledge, and wisdom that we call upon each day of our lives. Could we please play this video?
O ginui galanie ginio ke aqua mano ke aqua I luna ke aqua I lalo ke aqua I uga ke aqua I kai mai na kukulu o ka hiki a hiki hawa inui a ke hawa inui kua uli hawa I kai kino kala pi I mai I ha e ha o mala ela e kalania I ke a o he a o ka mala malama ho mai kalamo ka ike ka mau popo ke a ka mai. O mai ka ika hele ana, ka noho ana, ka hana ana. O maluhia ke ola ana, ka imi ana, ka nawe ana I ke ola pono. I pono mauna kule ana pau. Mai na wele launa kua lono na kua hivi na kua mauna. Mai kaulana ka lai le hua ho I papahana mo kua kea. He kai a kea nalunui a kea, moana nui a kea, wa I kea ho I kea la nui o ka I ini ka nuu e kulia mauai. O halia ku nei leo I ka makani nui, ka makani ki, ka makani hea au mākua, nā kia I o ka pō me ke au. No u kana au wao, kana au haa, kana au pono, kana au mae, kana au aloha, ke aloho nā kupuna. No luna pau mai ka mana nui e aloha ku, e aloha mai, e aloha nui hoi e ola hoi nā mea pau. Lele I mauli ola, lele wale aku
Thank you. You can see that Hawaii is a very beautiful place and a very spiritual place. The indigenous Hawaiian spiritual principles of wisdom, humility, integrity, honesty, and respect with love can help guide us through life's journey. And as we go through life's journey, we move toward the goal of harmony and peace. And as we face many global challenges, these are, in fact, universal spiritual values common in the world's religion and religious faith traditions. Paramahansa Sri Ramakrishna himself indicated that all religions are equally valid. He found a place for each one in his own life, and he first realized God by following Hindu practices, and of course with a great devotee of Mother Kali, and then by following the Christian and Muslim paths. He found that it is the same God toward whom all are directing our steps, though along different paths. Swami Vivekananda spoke at the first major interfaith gathering at the Chicago World's Fair in 1893, where he recited a few lines from a hymn, which he repeated from childhood. And he said, that by millions of human beings, that goes as the different streams, having their sources in different paths, which men take through different tendencies, various though they appear, crooked or straight, all lead to thee. My beloved spiritual mother, who we call Divine Mother, gave us Sri Ramakrishna as our chosen ideal. Time magazine called him the avatar of the century. It is therefore fitting that I speak about harnessing the wisdom of the world's religions to address today's global issues, which is the title of my presentation. Since there are so many global issues, however, from ongoing wars, the increasing threat of nuclear weapons, and so forth, I will address the largest existential threat which we're all feeling, and that is climate change. Human activities have been the main driver of climate change since the 1800s, and global warming is caused by burning fossil fuels like coal, oil, and gas. The greenhouse gas emissions wrap around the Earth, trapping the heat, of the sun and raising temperatures. But rising temperatures are only the beginning. Because the Earth is a complex ecological system, rising temperatures affect others as well. Severe extremes in weather conditions, including hurricanes, flooding, and wildfires, are occurring around the globe. The melting polar ice caps are causing the sea levels to rise, affecting shoreline communities, where beaches are being eroded and tides are encroaching the land, causing flooding and property damage. And of course, when you live on an island archipelago such as Hawaii, this is a real concern. Researchers predict that by 2050, which is just around the corner, more than 216 million people around the world may be forced to migrate due to climate change because of factors including water stress, drought, food shortages, and land degradation, among others. As we know, Hurricane Helene recently tore through multiple states, including Florida, Georgia, the Carolinas, that left about 160 persons dead and over 600 people missing, with more casualties expected to be recovered. And there was just on the news recently that another hurricane may be passing through. As I began my presentation with a blessing from a Hawaiian indigenous person, I want to address the important work which indigenous people are doing to protect the planet. According to the World Economic Forum, indigenous people are protecting the planet by safeguarding their knowledge. They have unique insights into how to conserve and protect the environment, cultivated over literally thousands of years of deeply embedded traditions in their culture. The very survival of indigenous communities in often challenging environments is proof of the value of their knowledge when it comes to helping the rest of the globe cope with climate crisis. The UN International Fund for Agricultural Development puts it like this: indigenous peoples have unique food systems anchored in sustainable livelihood practices, which are adapted to the specific ecosystems of their territories. And indigenous women are full of untapped potential as stewards of natural resources and biodiversity. Indigenous people are experts at small-scale community food production, and the International Institute for Environment and Development says the rest of the world could learn a lot from their approach in a world where globalized food systems have come under increasing threat. The success of indigenous people in producing healthy food while protecting their natural environments benefits the whole world. Maintaining biodiversity is critical to ensuring a sustainable food supply, as well as providing protection from pollution and flooding and climate breakdown. I would like to share about a Hawaiian initiative called New Now, spearheaded by a native Hawaiian lady who is a professor at the University of Hawaii. She also received her PhD from Harvard University. She has created a movement for food security in Hawaii through the resurgence of the coconut tree. When Hawaii moved from an agrarian state to a tourist economy, coconut trees were cut down because of the liability issues of falling coconuts endangering the lives of tourists. I would like to share a clip from a film my academy created about this movement that will give brief background about Hawaiian history that severed the cultural traditions and knowledge of the indigenous Hawaiians from the land and their self-determination and sustainability. This is not a unique story. It is a story of all indigenous people who face the colonization of their lands, but also their cultural and deep spiritual wisdom and their connection to the sacred land. The renaissance of the indigenous people of their culture, language, and spiritual sacred traditions is also part of the contemporary story of restorative justice of these First Nations people. Could we please play the next video?
The great change is upon us. Our systems of water, our systems of food, our systems of relationality, they are collapsing. The stakes are high. But you know what? We've seen this before. So then the response then has to be more conscious, more connected to a deeper and more mature understanding of our potential around how we can do this differently. I have a dream, and that we regain our relationship with the Niu. And when we regain the relationship with the Niu, we'll understand more about how to make cordage. We'll understand how to give out water, make milk, make cream, how to cook better, how to understand the efficacy of mulch. We will understand a lot more about ourselves when we grow coconuts. Our deities became our elemental forms in a very practical, land-based, spiritual sense. Pele as the tumultuous lava that explodes. Pele is the destroyer. Hi'iaka I Kapoleo Pele, the regenerator of land. We had a relationship with these energies because we lived and learned from them. And we were humbled with their awesomeness. And we were inspired by their ability to instruct, spank, nourish. The land practices of Hawaii and of my kupuna were vast, absolutely vast. The Ahupua'a system is a system that runs from upland, which is Mauka, to Makai, which is seaward. We had a system of understanding where the water should be shunted to for the growing of specific foods. And at the end, inevitably, there was always a local i'a or local ea, which is our fish ponds. And we produced millions of tons of fish for our people on all islands. The breakings of traditions in Hawaii is a long story. Contact introduced diseases to us that basically wiped out my people. Close to 90% of Native Hawaiians were gone by 1890. Our knowledge was cut. We lost our lands by 1850, 1860. Land for us was not a commodity. So by 1850s, when they developed the great land division called the Mahele, we did not understand what that even meant to sign up for land. It was not in our worldview to own land. The breaking up of our relationship with food, our food sources, our language, and then they even outlawed hula and thought hula for many generations. So the cultural decay was definitely conscious on the part of others. And so we began to feel less than and unworthy. We were not in agreement with America that we wanted to be a colony. This is not true. We were taken in a simple majority of Congress because they needed these lands for the Spanish-American War. We are completely entrenched in American thought patterns. And so instead of being angry, my family, we were coached to be clear, to be creative, to be collaborative, to be enduring.
I just felt I needed to talk about that dimension of spirituality. I come from the indigenous people of this land. Indeed, the coconut is the life plant. Coconut trees are not decorative. Use it in a living way. You have a resource if you have a plant, but there's a greater connection we must hook up to. That helps us to remember that this is much greater than mankind. It connects us with the spiritual domain that links us to the Aina. So it's that ecosystem of man's use of the products of the gods that helps to re-nurture the Aina, that provides us the food that we eat.
You heard the word Aina used several times in this video. Aina in Hawaiian means land, and this indigenous elder who you just heard speaking is making the spiritual connection of our food source to the sacred land. And the indigenous Hawaiian people know that the loss of their traditional food source and relying on tourist dollars to run the economy has divested the people of Hawaii from their connection to grow their own food. Hawaii imports between 85 to 95% of its food from elsewhere. Approximately 90% of the food consumed in Hawaii is imported, making it one of the most import-dependent states in the United States. And of course, Hawaii is very isolated in the middle of the vast Pacific Ocean. And Pacific means peaceful. And this makes Hawaii vulnerable to disruptions in the food supply and shipping, which could be caused by natural disasters like rising seas or global events. And as you know, Hawaii is very geopolitically situated in the Asia-Pacific region. So some say that Hawaii can't simply revert back to its past sustainable food system as the environment has changed. New species of weeds, pests, rodents, and diseases now exist that Hawaii's ancestors didn't have to deal with. However, a new system rooted in the sustainable values of Hawaii's pre-Western food system could help the state achieve self-sufficiency in the 21st century. And this lady, Dr. Manulani Meyer, and her team of dedicated volunteers are planting coconut trees to help feed the people when food becomes needed to sustain life. And it is part of their prophetic tradition, which has foretold that food will have to be shared, so they are preparing now. The next video will explain further the concept of the mo'o, or the continuity when principles and actions align. So can we please play the next video?
You know, the mindset of America is, you've got to do for me. And that is not where the mo'o lives. That is not where continuity lives. Continuity lives in the request, what can I do for you? And when you have that, that sparks simultaneity. Because when you are in the service of others, energy and energetic fields gets activated and things start to happen that you have no knowledge of prior to your commitment to another. So when you worry about your kupuna, your elder that's next door, you know, take care of your elder. When we had an event in 2008, a Hawaiian Youth Food Sovereignty Conference, 200 people came for 5 days. And when that event was finished, every student, there was about 200 of them, ages between 18 and 30, and they all knew that when the collapse comes, when the change comes, they've got to be ready to give food away. Give food. We're not getting guns and isolating ourselves. They know, I know, and that's what this new now is about, is to prepare ourselves to share food so we can be of service to others. New Now is a movement of friends dedicated to the animation of cultural agroforestry. Coconuts at the center. Love of land is at the center. Service to people, same thing. When we grow coconuts, humanity thrives. Kupu kaniu, kupu ke kanaka.
It's a mahina poi poi, so it's a full moon today. So we use the energetic field of the rising fullness of the moon to plant our seed coconuts, so that in 6-7 months, when the makahiki season has begun, we're going to give them away.
So more and more, the world is willing to appreciate and study the ancient wisdom and sacred traditions of indigenous people as guardians of the earth, and bring back their traditions to help us all in sacred relationality with the earth, which the indigenous peoples knew so well. In a new study in the Journal of Religion and Demography, an investigation showed the link between environmental challenges and religion. The work builds on a growing body of research carried out at the Center of International Earth Science Information Network and the Columbia Aging Center. They looked at the environment-religion connection by analyzing religious affiliation together with a variety of environment and climate change-related indicators at the country level. They also conducted exploratory and descriptive statistical analysis to better understand the associations among religions on the one hand and economic development, greenhouse gas emissions, and exposure to environmental stressors on the other. Basically, they found that nations whose inhabitants are less religious tend to use more resources and produce more emissions. Yet they are also better prepared to deal with resulting environmental challenges because they are wealthier. On the other hand, nations whose populations are more religious tend to use fewer resources, yet at the same time, they have less capacity to meet environmental challenges and are subject to more adverse outcomes, in part due to their high levels of poverty and continuing population growth. Since religion may influence which policies are most effective and plausible, it is important to understand the evolution of the religious composition of the world alongside environmental changes. Furthermore, the ethical dimensions of climate change, namely the ways in which different faith traditions disproportionately contribute to or are impacted by climate change, will likely receive growing attention. Finally, identifying effective ways to communicate environmental issues and risks within faith traditions and encouraging interfaith and non-religious collaboration will be important for addressing future global environmental. Francis created an encyclical called Laudato Si. It focuses on care for the natural environment and all people, as well as broader questions of the relationship between God, humans, and the earth. Now, we examine how interfaith collaboration has been instrumental in environmental efforts. The United Nations noted that from Buddhism to Christianity to Hinduism to Islam, various faiths acknowledge the need for environmental stewardship, and their holy texts urge adherents to be caretakers of the earth and its biodiversity. With shared values of respecting, protecting, and honoring the earth, and the ability to mobilize and inspire their communities, faith leaders and organizations have taken action to open the dialogue about environmental protection and policy. And I'd like to focus on two powerful initiatives of the leading guiding institution of the United Nations. And first is the Faith for Earth initiative of the United Nations Environment Program. And this initiative was established in 2017 by the United Nations and its partners with faith-based organizations to work towards the Sustainable Development Goals and Agenda 2030. And this initiative focuses on three overarching goals. 1, empowering leadership. 2, mobilizing faith-based investments. And 3, providing faith science evidence. And this initiative explores various theological views of the world's religions towards environment, demonstrating the connection between faith and nature. Faith for Earth also recognizes that participation and leadership of women are vital. Next is the Interfaith Rainforest Initiative, and it is a successful multi-faith alliance that brings moral agency and faith-based leadership to the global effort to end tropical deforestation. It is launched in 2017 and endorsed in 2019 at the 10th Religions for Peace World Assembly, where over 900 religious leaders agreed to restore the planet's forests, rainforests, and it provides a global platform for religious leaders, indigenous people, governments, civil society organizations, and businesses to work together to protect the rainforests and safeguard the indigenous peoples who serve as their guardians. Now, the rainforests are considered to be the lungs of the earth. And from the leading guiding institutions of the United Nations to the grassroots, where there are many initiatives all around the world, where spiritual and religious people are undertaking to demonstrate their willingness to interact with different cultures, different religion, and peoples as a way of demonstrating cooperation, harmony, and the establishment of peace in a multicultural, multi-religious world. So this very building is aptly named Home of Harmony. I would like to share the next video, which shows but a small snippet of the work which I have undertaken over many years with different communities of faith in different countries. And in this video clip, because I have traveled to close to 60 countries, I limit this short video to our work in Vietnam and Nepal and my journey to the sacred site of Mount Kailash. Now, I will explain about Mount Kailash further in my talk, but I have visited Mount Kailash twice. Could we play the next video? This is an orphanage founded by a woman who was an orphan herself, and she grew up on the streets in Vietnam. That's her in the back, blowing her nose, and she vowed that no child should have to suffer the way she did. So these are the little babies that people drop off at her orphanage. This is Kuan Yin, the goddess of compassion and mercy. These are the school children in Vietnam and the people devoted to Buddhism in Vietnam.
Who will hold a child in her arms? She reaches out, so many friends who seek to live this world. When we stand together together for life. She will hold the child in her arms. Without woman, earth would fade and die. Without woman, who am I? Who am I on this island of faith? Who am I on this island of life?
Vietnam too has indigenous people, and this is their celebration.
You are the sea, the sea. You are the sky, the sky. You are the ocean. I am the earth, the earth. I am the island of your love. She listens, she understands for those searching for truth. We will stand together for life. We will hold a child in our arms. Without woman, earth would fade and die. Without woman, who am I? Who am I on this island of faith? Who am I on this island of life? You are the sea, you are the sky, you are the ocean. I am the earth, I am the island of your
Along the way, there are these monasteries that hold the sacred deities, and this is the altar to Milarepa's cave. Milarepa was a very big-time Buddhist guru with mystical powers.
child in her arms. Without woman, earth would fade and die. Without woman, who am I? Who am I on this island of faith? Who am I on this island of life? You are the sea, you are the sky, you are the ocean. I am the earth, I am the island of your love. You are the sea.
This is an interfaith gathering of Hindu and Buddhist leaders. This is a sacred ground where Lord Buddha was born, in Lumbini.
I am the earth. I am the island of your love.
empire reached to Afghanistan. This is a photo of Sri Ramakrishna in this Buddhist temple in Nepal. This is Maya Devi Temple, which marks the exact spot where Lord Buddha was born. And every morning I would pray there at that very humble temple. This is Chintamani Yogi Ji. He has fantastic Hindu school that teaches ethics and values and morals to as many students besides a regular academic course. He's a great teacher. He also has a home for orphans that his brother runs. That is a photo of Divine Mother and Sri Ramakrishna next to her at the sacred altar in this Buddhist temple in Nepal. So one of the most sacred ways that communities of faith express their devotion is to visit sacred sites. In the last video that you just saw, of my journey to Mount Kailash is considered to be one of the most sacred places in the world, and it is revered by Hindus, Jains, Bons, and Buddhists. The Bons are the indigenous people of Tibet, and you will recognize them in the next video because they do the entire circumambulation of Mount Kailash by taking each step with a full body prostration. The journey is arduous enough, and it is almost incomprehensible that anyone would do the circumambulation around this mountain, doing full body prostration on this long journey around the mountain, which takes at least 3 days, even on horseback, at 19,000 feet high, which is higher than base camp at Mount Everest. But the Bons do this. And just to witness such devotion is very humbling. And even though it's been a few years since I've undertaken my last trip to Mount Kailash, the devotion of the indigenous Bons is extremely touching. It is the most humbling thing that you can witness. So Mount Kailash is considered to be the abode of Lord Shiva. It is also the abode of Avalokitesvara, the Buddhist bodhisattva, who is the primary subject of the very famous Lotus Sutra. You will see in the next video Hindus bathing in Lake Mansarovar, which is a sacred lake and is considered capable, like the Ganges River, of washing away all sins and impurities. The Buddhists, on the other hand, believe that the lake is so sacred that no human beings should enter it. And in this upcoming video, you will see some of the clips of my journey to Mount Kailash that you already saw in the previous video. But this video more extensively shows some of the sacred sites. For example, more footage of our visit to Milarepa's cave. As I shared, Milarepa was a very big Hindu guru who is considered to have mystical powers. And I will honestly say that these sacred places have a powerful spiritual resonance that you can actually feel and experience when you go there. You will see Lake Gaurikind, situated at around 5,600 meters. In the video, it looks very close and looks like a small lake. But when you're actually on Mount Kailash, it is very deep into the valley. And, you know, part of me is looking at that lake and I'm telling myself, oh, you can get there. And the other part of me saying, well, how are you going to get back up? So I just contented myself to just look at the lake. And according to Hindu mythology, this lake is where goddess Parvati, also known as Gauri, performed her devotion to win Lord Shiva's heart. So could we please play this video?
Hello and welcome to all of the members of the spiritual family. It is really a privilege to be here. It is the abode of Lord Shiva. It is revered by the Hindus, Jains, Bans, and Buddhists the world over. It is very inspiring to see the devotion of the pilgrims who often travel for many, many miles and who actually walk around Mount Kailash, as well as ride on horses. We're here at Doma Pass, and Doma Pass, once you come to here, the highest point that they allow us to be, you are considered to be spiritually transformed. You have heard me speak of Mount Kailash before, but this is our second visit here. It is very, very cold. And at this time, I'd like to say a special blessing to all of the members of the spiritual family and to the whole world, to the recitation of the beautiful Gayatri mantra, the mantra of enlightenment. And although you are not able to be with us physically, you are one with us in spirit, and I have brought all of you, beautiful children of Divine Mother, here to Mount Kailash with me. So join me now as I send forth this beautiful blessing the mantra of enlightenment.
Om Bhum Bhuva. Om Swaha. Om Maha. Om Jana. Om Tapaha. Om Satyam. Om Tat Savitir Varanyam Bargo Devasya Dhimahi.
That's late Gauri Kine.
Dhiyo yo naha prachodya. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.
So I've been invited to undertake the inner Kora of Mount Kailash in 2026. A friend of mine who has undertaken the pilgrimage to Mount Kailash 5 times and did the inner Kora said the inner Kora was the most difficult and dangerous to do. Now, the person who has invited me to do this pilgrimage in 2026 has been there 19 times. But the 2026 visit will be the first time that he will do the inner Kora. Needless to say, he's in great shape. And though he will be 82 years old in 2026, he is looking forward to it. I give him a lot of credit. But doing pilgrimage to sacred sites is also a tremendous journey of devotion, the remembrances of all that is holy and revered, and I posit that this alone contributes greatly to peace by virtue of the inner transformations which the pilgrims feel. This inner peace contributes to the entirety of the consciousness of humanity to undertake the inner and outer journey of peace, and may all of our individual and collective efforts to take hold in the world to create the tipping point for peace. Let us all call on all of the world's religions and all travelers on the spiritual journey to take up the call to work for world peace. And I thank you so much for the privilege of sharing with you today. And as you saw me do this in many, many different places around the world, in Vietnam, Tibet, and Nepal, everywhere I go, I am reciting the beautiful Gayatri mantra and the sacred Om, and the Om Shanti Shanti Shanti, Om Peace Peace Peace, has gone greatly throughout the world. So thank you so much, everyone.
If you have any questions, you can ask.
Any questions, especially to those who may be contemplating going to Mount Kailash? I would tell you it's very, very difficult. Yes?
Thank you very much. Beautiful presentation. And I love the first song, the Hawaiian song that you showed there. Very meaningful verses. And I was thinking as your presentation was going, it's so similarities with Hinduism where I come from, multiple deities, spirit with ocean and land and sky, similar, and the coconut importance we call kalpa vriksha, the wish fulfilling fruit. But that's the part where we all agree with, right? We agree with things in different faiths. There are so many things we agree in different faiths. My question is, how do you harness the differences? Like different faiths have different differences, right? Sometimes they are reconcilable, sometimes they are not. And that creates issues, whether it is climate, some people are deniers of climate changes, or Temple Mount, Jerusalem. Those are sometimes thought as like more of a unreconcilable differences. From your experiences in this field, your so much work that you have done in this field, how would you say that how can we come together or harness those differences to make it as a strength?
Well, first of all, there's so much diversity in the world, and there's also cultural diversity. So what is culture? Culture is everything. Culture is our food, our songs, our dances, our arts, our religious institutions, our beliefs, our faiths, our values. So all of this diversity actually creates the biodiversity of human beings in the world. And as we know, studying the environment, biodiversity is very, very important to have. So the differences should not be critical, looked at with critical eyes, but with very positive eyes, because we need this kind of diversity to show the appreciation of the abundance of the divine creator of such genius to create so much diversity, and in that diversity, so much genius of creativity and so much incredible beauty. So if you take a look at one rose, one flower, and just study the beauty of the petals, and then you see this is a species of flower, the rose, and there's so many incredible varieties, and that's just in flowers, and so too in trees, so too in different varieties of coconuts. So diversity is everywhere, and we should celebrate it. So let the diversity that exists in the world be a point of celebration and cause us to be curious, to learn more, to understand more. And rather than, question why is it different here than different there, there's going to be differences. So my beautiful spiritual mother said, kimchi may be good for Koreans, maybe not so good for other kinds of culture. Do you know kimchi? Yes. It's very strong, lots of garlic, very hot, very salty. But you see, as the cultures come together, we get to appreciate the different foods of the different countries. And now you can go pretty much anywhere, and you can find Korean food, Japanese food, Indian food, all kinds of food. And so our world expands. So all of this diversity provided by the divine creator, I feel, is actually designed to help cut our lens of insularity and to expand us into the global lens. And you see, consciousness is ever expanding into infinity. So there's a lot that we have to expand and to grow and to appreciate of the genius of the divine creator of all there is. And I celebrate the diversity right here in this room. Every voice is different. Every face is different. There are similarities. We're all the species, human species, but yet there is similarities and differences. And that's what makes us all beautiful and interesting. But thank you. Yes?
Scientists many years ago, I think, we're looking into the Serengeti principle and how important that is. If there's too much diversity, it's actually bad for
Can you speak a little louder?
If there's too much diversity, it's bad for the whole biosphere. They've been able to show that in areas, when the oceans where they're dead, there's no life anymore, it's because there was one species which used to be alpha, and that alpha would keep all the other species having something to feed off of, and each one would flourish, the whole area would flourish. But when that was taken away, they did experiments by taking away those things, the whole environment disappeared, because we feed on each other. We're part of everything. And if we don't have those differences and people who are higher up to teach the people who aren't, all of that, it works psychologically, it works, it lives biologically, just as it's in the animals, it's in us. We have that same, that's an inheritance we've gotten from creation. So all of these things are absolutely necessary. So when we can go to a place where we can respect each other because we are human, and we can consciously make decisions like you do when you go here to respect whatever's good there and what's making that culture flourish and how they're flourishing and how maybe you can learn to bring it back to your culture, but you can't change your culture, but you can bring it back, and that's part of the human capacity.
Well, thank you. And I understand you gave a lecture here not too long ago.
I did.
So thank you so much. Anybody else have any questions? Okay, well, thank you so much for this privilege and opportunity to be with all of you. And if anyone is going to take a trip to Mount Kailash, please do feel free to talk to me. But I will caution you, it is extremely cold and very difficult. And there was a wonderful friend, he has since passed away, named J.C. Kapoor. He had the Kapoor Solar Farms in New Delhi, and he was telling me, "What, you're going to Mount Kailash?" He said, "You know, you have to have sufficient spiritual merit or you can't even go to the mountain." And, you know, I thought it was just something he was saying, like a mythology. But along the way, I have found this to be so. But the details I won't go into, but, you know, these mystical places, these sacred places have incredible mystical powers. So I'll just leave it at that. So thank you so much, everyone. Thank you. Oh my. Thank you.
When I met her first, the Andrew Kitagawa, I never felt that this is the first time I am meeting her. Her appearance was as if I knew her for a long period of time, and she was so wonderful, and she was that time the president of the Parliament of Religions. As I met her, and I really, really appreciated the way she thinks and she works. Whatever she is doing, very genuine way, and also full of love, full of concern. Today, we have learned so many things from you. And of course, I had a dream to go to Kailash, as most of the people they are having, but I don't think I won't be able to make it. But I have seen the Kailash today, and so wonderfully you have presented. I have seen the Kailash, and also the Manas Sarovar. And Manas means the thought, Man is the manas. Sarovar is the pond. And Kailash is the symbol of Lord Shiva. So instead of going physically over there and to see that, rather, I will prefer to go deep into my mind, my manas, and there in that sarovara, in that pond of my mind, I like to see the reflection of the Lord Shiva in my meditation. Here, for you, actually, slowly we are developing a home for different faiths. You have noticed perhaps all the symbols are given over there, and almost all the churches, temples, synagogues, the mosque, they give only their own symbol, but this is something new. And today also I noticed that one elderly couple, when they were passing, walking perhaps, so they stood over there, looked at this symbol, and they were wondering, so how it is, all are there together. And as you very nicely said, yeah, we are all together. We are all is. Because the Creator is the same. And Bhagavan Sri Ramakrishna practiced it and then propagated it. So we thought that was the first time his disciple, Swami Vivekananda, he came and presented that here in Chicago and giving a wonderful example. The different rivers creating in different places are all going and mingling in the ocean. Maybe some the crooked way, some straight, but ultimately their goal is that ocean. Similarly, different type of people, different linguistic group, cultural group, different faith, but all they're going to the same goal, the God. So that should be. The peace is the ultimate thing. If peace and harmony is not there, cooperation is not there, humanity will suffer. That is the thing our leaders should understand. So I was telling that other day we met in the Mormons, the church, they invited all the religions. That is also a new thing for the first time. And all religious representations were there. And we were talking about the peacemaker and who can be a peacemaker, etc. Then I gave the proposal. We are meeting in different places, trying in our way, humble way, about the peace. But those who are taking the decision, they do not care about it. They never heard about it. So why not try from the beginning? So I have collected some of the beautiful books that our headquarters, Belur developed, and I'll be sending it to those people. They're also interested. And I gave them the proposal this way. Let us begin with Chicago and Illinois. So we will approach, I don't know how they will do that, we will see it and try. We will approach the mayor and the governor. Why not all the schools, right from the grade 1 up to class 12, through stories, the morality should be developed. An understanding, know and love. If I know a person, then only I can consider about him or her, and I will love. So obviously, through different cultural stories, if we can introduce it. So we will try. I request you also to join in that. We will contact you afterwards. So let us go deep into our pond of the Shiva in the mind, and we pray that she goes in 2026 again and pray for us over there. Om Shanti Shanti.